So first off, guys, I just want to thank everybody for getting on the call. Paul, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to get on here, pour into our team. So for you guys that don't know who Paul Mcclain is, he's kind of a superstar in this insurance world. Okay, he's multiple Hall of Fame. He's really set the bar for a really long time in this industry. And Paul, like, I just want to share something personal with me, like, that you don't know. Okay. So whenever I was starting out in this industry, okay, whenever I was going and spending time away from my family and running in Ohio and Tennessee and Kentucky and staying in crappy hotels or at truck stops whenever I had to, the reason that I got up and went and left my family every single week was because I was working to get the respect of top producers such as yourself. Like, you guys set the bar so high, and I was yearning for that acceptance and that respect so much that it just kept me going, dude. And I want to tell you, I mean, you didn't even have any knowledge of the impact that you had on me personally in my business, just from going out and setting the example that you did, dude. And I just want to say thank you. Okay?
I appreciate you, man. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you mean more to us than you know. Okay, and we really do appreciate you getting on. Guys, this dude right here crushes it. He's he's the best sales trainer that we got. Okay, and Paul, I just kind of want to kick it off like this, man. Not everybody knows, like, everybody sees your success. They don't see the struggles that you had in the beginning, right? So I want you to kind of start off, like, your beginnings. I want you to talk about, people starting where they are, being young and selling insurance to old people, because you went through that, because you've been in this business since you were 18, 19, and then mindset, and then sales training, man. And I'm just going to get out of your way and just let you roll.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you for having me on, guys. I mean, it's a privilege and an honor to be on with you guys. And as you're talking, Zach, I'm thinking back to, the first conferences that we kind of, FL was being birthed, right? There was, a couple hundred people at the first event, and having the conversations with you and just sharing war stories, man, like about the clients we'd sit with, driving all the way out to sit with Bob and Mary, thinking that, hey, this might be it, man. We might have a kidney harvest tonight, and all the different situations, and just making the business fun. It's like, I think back about all the different adversities, setbacks, struggles, things to overcome. And amidst all that, like, we still found a way to kind of make it fun, to make it like it was a game, to make it like where it's like, how can we enjoy this? And I think that's so essential, because, anything that's going to be worthwhile is going to be a struggle, right? It's going to be an uphill battle. But I believe that if you can keep the right perspective and find some fun in that, like, you're going to go out there and perform at a higher level. You're going to have a higher level of appreciation and excitement and enthusiasm. And I think that stuff's very much tied to the performance that you put in and day out. And so, man, it's been an honor to be in business with men and women like you, Zach, and Paige, and to be able to go out there and do something that, makes a difference. The services that you provide to clients, right? When they die, the benefit that they have in that check, to alleviate that financial, discord, all that stuff is such a beautiful thing. But we can just lose appreciation in that, man. We can lose the benefit that we have, that we're out there not just selling some kind of carpet or whatever that you could be pushing or peddling, but what we do actually makes a big difference. And I think that one of those things in the beginning that I understood was that, and it kind of put me on this mission and a crusade where it wasn't just about the money I was going to make. And I know you guys have heard all these different cliche quotes, like, if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want, and all those different things. But that stuff is true, man. Like, especially in what we do, if we can go out there and put the clients first, man, we're really set up and teed up to not have to have all the right word tracks and the phraseology, but, man, we're going to communicate from a source of our heart that's well intended to best serve that client. And we're going to go out there and do that. And I just think that as everybody's on here, you're going to have those days where you get no shows, no sales. I remember having a day where it was one of those just celebratory dial days, man. I left and I was like, dude, man, keep calling again. No, me, dog. Like, I booked 18 appointments, and that was the most I'd ever booked in a dial day. I mean, this is going way back. And I had 9 appointments booked for the following day. And I'd never done that before, man. That was a big deal. And I remember going out there and I had 9 appointments and I had 9 no-shows, man. Like I would have been happier if somebody answered the door, punched me in the face and then said, I hate you. I mean, at least I would have been seen, man. I felt like a lost kid in Target, like yelling for their mom through the aisles, man. Like, does anybody know I'm here? And I remember just being defeated, dude, just thinking like, dude, this sucks, man. And easily trying to go to this whole, like, I started calculating how many miles I put on my car and the depreciation factor. And, you know, I just lost $82 on my car, my resale value. And I mean, I was thinking like, dude, all this stupid stuff. Like I spent the whole day I could have been doing. And I remember in that moment thinking like, dude, like if this is going to produce the fruit that I hope for it to produce, because in the moment, man, like I hadn't seen crazy evidence that I was going to go out there and be financially free, but I hoped, right? I had hope that it would come. And so I sat back and thought, man, like if I really hope that it's going to produce that, and I'm building faith that it will, shouldn't it be like this? You know, shouldn't I have some kind of resistance, man? You know, shouldn't it be days like this? And I sat back and thought, man, there should be. And this is the crossroads where some people can easily pick up excuses, justification, blame, complaining, why this happened and all that. But I said, man, that's a differentiator between the people that are great or not. I mean, you could look at any kind of, you know, sports, athletics, like they all have bad days. It's not what happens to the person, it's the response to it that will determine the seed that's in that adversity, if it's going to be birthed to the higher level and take you to the higher level, that growth that's there or not. And so I sat back and thought, man, like this should happen. In fact, I'm glad this happened. And I remember almost having that paradigm shift of like, dude, I got to start seeing this stuff, even the bad days, as good. Like these are the days that even if I can't figure out how to get this no-show situation corrected immediately, but man, I'm developing the character that's probably necessary and essential for me to get to these higher levels in these businesses. And that's the response that you've got to have if you want to go out there and get through the trials and tribulations that you're going to have going out there and seeing success, man. That's the stuff that you're going to have to put your head down, but you got to have the right interpretation. So for me, it was like, man, this is a good thing. And I sat back, and it was really for the first time that I had really kind of gone through. I recorded my phone script, which I hadn't done. I hopped on a bunch of podcasts, which I was doing consistently, but I said, you know what, before I go to bed at night, man, I'm going to start listening to some podcasts. This is prior to us having these YouTube videos and stuff. Man, like I was sitting there just like listening to an audio on the computer, right? And but taking notes and like just saying, okay, I heard myself say this, I need to tweak this and adjust this. It was very uncomfortable, man, because I didn't like listen to how I was doing the phone script. In fact, what I figured out and I uncovered was, man, what I thought wasn't. Like I was very unaware of exactly how I was executing the phone script, because I thought I was saying it like these dudes were saying it. And the moment I listened to my first 3 words, I'm like, dude, I ain't saying it like they're saying it. Like when they answer the phone, I'm like, hey, Zach, this is Paul. Like, dude, that doesn't work. They're thinking like, who's this crackhead that's also telling me this is a telemarketer on crack? I mean, like, dude, like they're hanging up on me like that. But I had convinced myself that I'm saying this slow and low because I was unaware, because I had not taken a step back and really had an opportunity to take a real look at it and understand what was really going on. And that terrible day that I had of 9 no-shows, man, like I finally was able to make some tweaks and adjustments. I became aware of what I was actually doing. And I knew my intention was to have a higher show ratio. And so I started making adjustments, and then I took action on it. And leading from that day, my show ratio over the next 12 months, man, it went up 20% because I had my numbers played out. I wasn't confused. And you guys shouldn't be confused that if you want to have a business that you can grow, you better have a business that you're inspecting, because you can't expect what you don't inspect. And so you got to inspect, like, what does it look like, man? How many dials does it take to book X amount of appointments? And how many appointments that I book lead to X amount of sits? And how many sits to lead to X amount of closes? And like knowing what it looks like. So then when you can extract the emotion from it and just say, numbers are numbers, they're logical, they're unemotional. And that's where you can start to call out what result and outcome you're going to see each week. And even if you have a week that's bad, man, you could step in with faith and say, I know unequivocally, man, this week coming up is going to be a week that's even better than what it should be, because numbers are going to balance themselves out, right? And so the weeks that were better than what they should be, I enjoyed them, but I was prepared to endure a week that maybe wasn't like what it was. And the weeks that were bad, man, I endured those because I was setting myself up with the right expectation. I was about to enjoy a week that was better because numbers don't lie. And so you can extract, again, the emotion out of it. But I went out there the following week, and I had the biggest week I ever had. You know, I went out and helped 20 families. That was the first time I'd ever helped 20 families in a week. And it was really coming off of the worst, most challenging week I had had. That week was also a week where, you know, I had opened up my email and I had more chargebacks and things. It was like, man, it seems like stuff was against me. But, you know, the thing is this, whatever was coming against me, I had the opportunity to see in a way that actually would elevate me to a level I would have never got to if I didn't handle it the right way. And so, man, there's been all kinds of different trying, you know, points throughout this, you know, career, 15 years, which is kind of crazy to think that I've been doing it, you know, 15 years. But in the beginning too, Zach, was me just believing that I could be successful, you know, because I didn't grow up with, you know, somebody showing me how to build a business. I didn't grow up with somebody showing me like entrepreneur characteristics, how to take risks, how to put in relentless, audacious work ethic. I grew up watching my dad work a 9-to-5 job, which means that's what he put in. He put in 9 to 5. That's what he did. I didn't see him go out there and take massive risk and invest in a business. And I didn't see that, man. Like, in fact, it was stuff I heard was like, money doesn't grow on trees. And it was a lot more of a lack mindset. And everybody in my family, you go back, my dad's dad was worked for Edison. And like, there was nobody in my family tree, not a branch, not even a leaf that went to college. Nobody. Not my mom's side, dad's side, nobody went to college. A family that was very much just like impoverished, man, had a poverty mindset, you know, had poverty lifestyle. It's what we did. So when I stepped into this business, man, like I finally kind of opened up my mind by getting exposed to different calls, podcasts, starting to read, and like just being like, man, like maybe what I think wasn't. Like there's a different way to see it. There's a different thought process that I need to develop to go out there and really achieve financial freedom, to achieve success. And so the reality is that didn't happen overnight. So I had to patiently endure and trust the process when I wasn't seeing crazy progress in the beginning, because there was a lot more work to be done on me than maybe somebody else. So one of the challenging things I had to also do was not to compare what path I had to compare the race that I was on to somebody else's race, because I don't know what they went through. I'd have to get on a call with every person that I'm looking at the leaderboard at, and every person that's on a podcast, and say, hey, bro, got 20 minutes, dog? Let me talk to you about your beginning, and find out like, oh, maybe that's why they are where they're at. Because it's easy to go ahead and compare other people and say, I suck. Like, I'm terrible. I got hung up on 10 times a day. I had a bunch of no sales today. I recruited 5 agents, and dude, not one of them did something. So you start comparing what you're actually experiencing, what your real today is, and you're comparing that to somebody else's highlight reel, what the results and outcome is, but you don't even know what it really looked like. You don't know what their first month looked like. You don't know what their fourth month looked like, and you don't know what they started the business with. You might have came on with more baggage, more setbacks and struggles and self-limiting beliefs, and maybe even some strongholds that you had derived that were lies, but you believed them so long that you believe they're true. That was some of the things I dealt with. Was like, man, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I can't do this. No matter how hard I try, I just feel like I'm always falling short, finding the deficiencies in myself. And the problem with that is there's a lot of ways to validate that, to make that true. Like, I'm dysfunctional. I can find all kinds of different things to validate the fact that I'm not good enough. I said I was going to read my kid a book tonight, and I didn't read a kid a book. That's one thing. And I can start, just thinking on that, meditating on that, chilling on that. Like, dude, I keep saying I'm going to read my kid a book. I don't read a book. I mean, I said I was going to wake up at this time, and I said I was going to read this book, and I haven't read that book yet. I said this and this. So all kinds of things that you could do and find that support a lie to make it true. But the reality is it's a lie. The reality is every one of you have got exactly what you need to go out there and build success, to have a fruitful life, and that you were designed and created with that very much inside of you. And God wouldn't love anything more to see that potential come to pass. But it's up to you to tear down those strongholds. So for me, I had to realize that, man, I got to have a regimented routine that feed me with faith, feeds me with truth, So I can tear down these belief systems that ain't going to lead me to the success I want. Because no matter how hard you could work dialing the phones, if you believe that the leads are crap and you're not going to book appointments, well, hey, buckle up, buttercup. You're about to get those exact results. You're going to get them to validate. And there's all kinds of ways to validate the fact that the leads ain't any good. I mean, you call one right now and Andrew says, hey, this is Andrew. And they hang up on you. They're like, see, I knew it. He hung up on me, right? Brandon can give him a call and they can be like, Brandon, I don't like the way you sound. And you're like, what the heck? And they hang up. I remember my first lead I called. I felt like my mom she worked at a domestic violence shelter when I was a kid. When I got off that first call I made, I was going to check myself into domestic violence, even though the lead wasn't my partner. I was like, dude, I just got pretty sure emotionally and verbally abused. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So I could easily picked up and said, like, this is the way it is. But I had to hold on to beliefs. And this is a lot of the mindset stuff that Zach, you're asking about, but I had to hold on to the belief that, man, this is a family. They've asked for help. The hardest thing they're going to go through is a loss of a loved one when they pass away. And what I'm offering them is the most important thing they could ever get. And I'm the best person that could ever sit with them. And you can say, well, Paul, I can't say that, dude. I just got started. I can't say that, man. I haven't helped 20 families. Dude, I was saying it when I hadn't helped no families. Absolutely. I was saying it because I had a posse of guys and women around me that they had already crossed the path. And I had their phone number. I had them on Slack. I had them on the Facebook group page. And I could easily borrow my confidence from their experience because they were with me. They were for me. They said, hey, man, you need some help, reach out to me. So I knew if I was sitting with a client, and it was my first client, which I did do, I called a top producer. I was in my first client's house. I didn't know what to say. I mean, I literally got my license. And I don't know if I would have done this necessarily if I didn't have no options, which sometimes having no options, as much as it seems like a bad thing, is a great thing in disguise. Because, man, my first daughter was just born. She was like 2 weeks old. I had no money, and I got my license on a Monday. And that license came in, and you better believe, man, I was dialing on Tuesday, right? I filled out the contracts. Tuesday morning, I was on the phones. And so when I went to my first appointment, dude, there was no boot camps. There was no training. There was nothing. So what I had was a top producer's phone number. I sat my first client, and I'm sitting there, and they're looking at me, and I'm looking at them, and they kind of like, do one of these numbers, like you gonna say something? And I was like, you know what? Let me call. I think I know what product to write. Let me just call. Dude, nothing I said made any sense. I didn't even really introduce myself to him, dude. It was the most awkward, weird thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. I'm sweating. I think he might have been sweating because he's like, this guy's, I mean, is he gonna, like, what's up with this dude? So I call up and I'm like, hey, man, sitting here with the client. Just want to see what product I can help him with. He said, well, where are you at with the process? Like, do you have their information and what's their situation? I said, no, I don't. I just met him. I just sat down. I just met him. He's like, can you put it on speakerphone? So he put it on speakerphone, and I watched him go through the whole thing. And see, I borrowed my confidence and from him. Like, I was sitting there, felt good about it because I didn't have to be the expert. I knew the expert. Now, I was also confident in the fact that I was going to become the expert because I had a regimented schedule when it came to hopping on podcasts, training, leaning in, man, taking notes, putting in the work, the activity. So I knew it would eventually come. But I wasn't overly discouraged that I wasn't there right away because, again, I knew that if it was going to produce some phenomenal fruit, if it was going to be that good, man, like, it should be a process. It should take some time. And maybe you're the person that went out there and helped 20 families your first week. That's great. Maybe you weren't. The reality is it doesn't matter. What does that matter? The reality is it doesn't matter. In the big picture, in the next 3, 4, 5 years, if you just stick with it, does it matter if it took you longer than it took somebody else? The answer is no, it doesn't matter. What if you both become integrity partners? It took one person 5 years and another person 7 years. As a person, I mean, what are you talking about? What else would you be doing that's going to take you how many years to get to financial freedom? I don't know of anything else, right? So the reality is it doesn't matter. What does it matter? It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. And so I knew that I could borrow the confidence from the people that had gone the way before me. It's no different than if I'm like walking down a dark alley at night, right? Like I'm in Apple Valley right now. There's a suburb, in Apple Valley. It's called Felony Flats. It's called Felony Flats because of how many felonies are acquired every day there, right? And so Felony Flats, you go there late at night, dark alley, and what you're going to see is a bunch of thugs that look like they could take you out. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be walking down a dark alley in Felony Flats. But if I'm walking down a dark alley and I got a posse of Navy SEALs fully equipped, dude, I might even instigate a fight just to see it go down. You looking at me, homie? You know what I mean? Now, I don't even have to know how to fight. I don't even got to be equipped. But I got the boys around me, man. Let's go. And see, that's how I look at this business. Like, you can borrow confidence, borrow belief as well from the people that you're working with, man. Like, I believe in you. I believe without a doubt you could be successful. I know for a fact that Zach believes you. Paige, like they believe in you. Like, go out there and you can do this thing. You got every ability to do it. But you've got to get your mind right on that, right? So in the beginning, man, and the thing is this: as things progress, there's going to be all kinds of different moments that take place that are really just growth moments that allow you to develop and build the different attributes and characteristics. Man, I remember starting FFL and we didn't have any leads. That was a problem. Like, we had no leads. And I'm like, hey, bro, like, I love the whole high comp, but like, high comp with no people to call, that's seems like no comp. But I'm like, what are we gonna do? And Sean, you know, thank God his response was that. He's like, I don't know, bro, figure it out. And we were treated in such a way we were owning our own IMO, which allowed us to build our own IMO because we were treated in such a way that said we were running our own IMO. So we figured it out. And then what seemed like a big negative, man, was the year that was the most profitable year for me, because we didn't have leads. So I worked nothing but annual reviews. I dug in, figured out what that would look like, failed, booked some, didn't know what to do, had clients that were, you know, already with the final expense plan. Well, how do I write them an additional plan? And I remember, Zach, you reached out to me, man, and we had a conversation about that specifically. Like, dude, how do I help a client? Last year, I know Betty's budget, that was what it was. And you know, but I figured out, we talked about like how to still find an additional policy. And my close ratio was like through the roof with annual reviews. And I went out there and made more profit. And I needed that. Why did I need that? Because I was paying a legal bill of like 12 grand a month. You know, and you can, dude, that's terrible, dude. Like, that ain't fair. Like, why were you paying that? And you were at a low comp. You were just trying to go with it. Dude, it's the way it works. But I never sat back and thought like, dude, like, woe's me, man. Like, dude, this is terrible. I got to pay a legal bill. It's like, no, man, I get to pay a legal bill. And hey, you ain't done nothing big in life if you ain't got sued yet. That's what, I mean, I don't even know if that's true now, but I convinced myself it was true. So I felt better about it. But think about this. I'd never helped 50 families in a month. And when I was going through that, man, I went out and was helping 60 families a month. And people were like, dude, why are you helping so many families? It's like, well, I mean, I kind of have to. I got to pay a big legal bill. But guess what happened? When that legal bill left, guess what stayed? The understanding and the awareness of how to go out there and help 60 families, which would have never came probably if I didn't have to go do it. And so I just think that one of the best things that everybody can do on here is understanding that there's no lid to this thing, man. Like, there's so many levels that you can get to as far as growing this business. And I just know for a fact, man, like, your external growth that you're shooting for and you're trying to get after, it's very much can be influenced by the internal growth that you've got, right? And that comes to how you see yourself, the personal identity, what that looks like. And you got to be intentional to always be developing that, man. Like, so if you're not regimented weekly and you can't, and you don't know when you're listening to podcasts, it's not intentional, make it intentional, where you say, man, every single, you know, night for 45 minutes or an hour, I listen to a podcast. That might be one thing that seems small and not very, you know, like just minute, but that might be the biggest thing that allows you to go out there and make different choices, to grow, to stretch, and put the extra mile in. Because even like 7 years into this thing, man, like, my struggle has always been my struggle, like thinking like, man, maybe I'm just getting lucky. Like, maybe I'm going to forget like how I got here, what to do. Maybe I'm not going to remember. And maybe it was just all luck. And I remember after 7 years in the business, calling Andrew up, and we talked, frequently. And by the way, I think it's important, man, to connect into a work spot's location, man. It's like you look at like AA, they've got like a sponsor, they got somebody that they can connect with, man. Like that makes a massive difference to go out there and continue to pursue and accomplish the daily desired outcome, which is just to stay sober today, right? To have that person. And so like work spots in these different environments, guys, if you're not plugging in, that might be the very thing that's needed for you to keep at this thing until you see the success. Because think about, hey, man, if there was no sponsors and no community, dude, what would the rate of failure be? I promise you, be significantly greater. There'd be a lot more people that failed. And so, like, I know having that community that, like, when with Andrew and just other different people, where he'd reach out to me all the time, and and I'd help get his mind right. And then, man, sometimes I'd reach out to him, and he'd help me get my mind right. I'd reach out to him and be like, dude, I just got smoked today, bro. Like, I had these no sales, no shows. Like, okay. And if we had a relationship, I'd be vulnerable. I'd be like, dude, like, man, do you think I've been getting lucky? Like, do you think I've been? And I'm serious. Like, I'm convincing myself now. Like, dude, I'm already convinced. Like, dude, I've been lucky. Like, I've lost it. As if I lost. Like, it's like
you forgot how to sell insurance, right?
Yeah, like it's gone, dude. Like it's like I lose my AirPods every morning. I wake up my wife like, you see my AirPods? It was like that. Like they were gone. Sometimes I don't find them. I buy like, I think one of my biggest business expenses is AirPods. But like I thought I lost them. Like it's like where'd they go? I lost them. And he's like, dude, you know how stupid you just sounded? I'm like, no, dude, I'm serious. He's like, dude, no, I'm serious, dude. Did you hear what you said? You've been a top 10 producer for 7 years straight, and you lost it? And the problem is I could have convinced myself that I lost it. And if I did that, dude, like buckle up, that slump would have just continued to go on until I finally broke down that lie that I lost it. And thank God I had somebody to kind of speak some sense to me, because I was doing a great job finding supporting evidence of how I just lost it and how that was a possibility and how that made sense. I was just trying to convince myself of a lie. So what I'm saying is, like, man, like in this process, like you got to have some things that help, build you up, man. Like that feed the faith, that say, dude, you can go out there and have confidence in what you're hoping for. So plugging into different things like that, man, and having a regimented, schedule that has personal growth in it, man, it's essential. Because you don't just by default, man, make the right responses and have the right perspective. It doesn't work that way. Everything by default leads to disaster. Only things done by intention lead to something that's going to be of anything worthwhile. So sitting back and understanding, like, man, where am I at? My mindset, like really kind of taking a look on the mindset thing and sitting back and asking yourself questions like, man, what is something that I believe that doesn't line up with my success? What is something I believe about myself that doesn't empower me to go out there and see success? What's something that I believe about the business that's not going to tee me up for success? Because everybody in this business, man, they're playing the same song, dude. Like they got leads, but what's the difference? The difference is the belief systems, right? And sitting there and really kind of asking ourselves and thinking about it, because you can't defeat what you don't define. So you got to define, what is it for me that's been holding me back? And then you got to replace that with the truth of how you have what it takes, the truth that there's nothing holding you back to go out there and be successful, but the things that you put in your way, and to start to destroy some of those lies, man. And I think affirmations and declarations are essential for a mindset, man. Like every morning I speak the 2.0 version of myself. I'm speaking things I'm trying to remind myself and attributes and the values I hold on, so I can go out there and win the day. And I got to do it every day, man. It's not like one day I just finally got it, dude. Like I got it now. I've done it long enough. No, it's a daily thing. Like you got to be renewing your mind daily, every day. Because if you don't, and you're not intentionally doing it, by default, you're going to go ahead and conform to the culture of society, which culture and society, I mean, think about what you hear. It's all negative. It's complaining. It's hardships. It's don't take risk. It's depend on others, depend on circumstances, situations. And even if you kind of know inherently, like, man, I know that ain't the right way. But if that's all you're listening to and you're not doing it by intention, and you're just kind of letting whatever you go through each day, circumstance, you're going to pick that up and you're going to have that on you without even knowing it. And so I think to be intentional with putting good things in and blocking it out, man, that's what you've got to do. You got to put good things in. I mean, you've all heard it, like put good things in, good things come out. But that's the truth. And it's one thing to know it. It's another thing to have execution on that very thing. And the last thing I'd tell you guys with this is, like, I just encourage you, like today, to take a look and say, man, what do I know, but I'm not doing it yet, right? What is procrastination stealing from me? Where I'm just waiting to get going, or waiting until I feel like it, or waiting until I know this, and just saying, man, I'm going to do it and trust with faith that it's going to all work out. Because faith without works is dead. So you can do all these things, but if you don't put your feet behind it, it ain't going to make no difference. So if you can say, all right, today, man, I'm going to specifically do this. I'm going to buy more leads than I've ever bought before. Man, I'm going to post on social media. I've been hearing it, post on social media. I'm going to do it today. I'm going to post 10 times. I'm going to send DMs out. I'm going to follow 100 different people in the space of pest control or sales or whatever, solar, right? Heck, even go follow some of the people that follow Grant Cardone. And those people are looking for something. Typically, if they're about following somebody that has to do with personal growth and development and increasing their ability to sell, maybe you follow some of those guys and they start seeing what you're doing. Maybe they're after it and they desire to have great success, but they just haven't found the right vehicle. They haven't found the right platform. They haven't found how to get there. And this is how they get there. And so what action step do you need to take today that's going to prove to yourself that you're going to be that next version person? Because everything you do or don't do, man, it's casting a vote of that next person you're going to be. And are you casting the votes that are going to be leading to success in that person you want to be? The person that says, man, I'm disciplined. I'm focused. I ain't distracted. I give it 100%. I go the extra mile. And it's what I do after I've given it all. That's what makes the difference. And I'm going to make the difference today. Are you doing things that show that declaration, that show you that character and identity that you're stepping into? Because that's the difference maker, man. There's been many times I go to sales meetings and I'm sitting there and there's a person sitting next to me. And I remember being out there, consistently writing, X amount every, helping 10 families a week. And I just knew that person would be thinking like, man, he just always helps all those families, man. He just gets the good leads, or it just comes so natural to him. And the clients he sits with, man, they just lay down, bro. Like he's got the good one. And I remember, switching my sales meetings and starting to unpack the real numbers of each person's week, because there'd always be somebody that was consistent, man, 10 families. And there would be somebody that wasn't. And maybe there are 3, 4 families, or they'd have a good week and bad week. And we started looking at the numbers. What we realized is most of the time, which is very ironic, more times than not, the person that was helping 5, 6 families, and they didn't hit their goal of 10, but the person next to them, they hit their goal of 10. The person that hit the goal of 10, man, they had a week that was worse. They had more no-shows. They had more no-sells. But it was in a little bit extra, man. When we unpack it, and they said, well, I had this many appointments, but what I did was at 6 o'clock at night, when I had those no-shows, I pulled over instead of driving back home 2 hours. I dialed from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and I booked 4 more for the next day. And those 4, I closed 3 of the 4. And then you match it all up. You're like, dude, that's where it was at. It was that little bit extra. They both were giving it their all, so to speak, but it was the little bit more. It was a person that went above when they gave it their all that made the difference. And the reality is this: the person that does that, do you think that in their mind, they believe they deserve to hit their goal more than the other person?
Absolutely.
The person that's at the office at 7 a.m., they look around and like, ain't nobody else here. There ain't nobody else here. It's just me. And they dial from 7 to 8. You don't think they believe that they deserve to go out there and hit their appointment goals throughout that day when they look around and they're the only one there? Of course they do. So for me, man, it was consistency was crucial. I never looked at the scoreboard. I didn't care if I got deposited $200,000 for the week or I got deposited nothing for the week. I still went out there, and my good feeling of knowing that I should feel good about what I did for the day, it was completely tied to my work activity that day. What I'd set in place that was very scheduled and structured, and my execution of that. And that there led me to being even more present as a father, more present as a spouse, more present in all the other roles and goals that I've got established in my life that are outside of just working. That's why I believe that this position, guys, what you're in right now, this opportunity, it's the highest paying opportunity you're ever going to have, or it's the lowest paying opportunity you'll ever have. That's dependent on you and what you do. It's also the most fulfilling, the most rewarding, the most gratifying, or it's the most depressing. And that also has to do with you keeping the commitments you make to yourself. You keeping those promises. You say, man, I'm going to do this, and you follow through. You start to build yourself up, man. You start to feel good. You can leave the job at the end of the day, and you can go be present with the family. But if you go out there and you don't schedule and structure what you need to do, and you just go through the motions, it's never going to be done with excellence. And you're not going to ever feel like, man, I really did what I said I was going to do today, because you didn't even say it. But if you say it and you don't do it, man, you carry that burden that you really shouldn't have to carry, but you'll carry it because you're like, man, I said this, I didn't do it. And to know not to do, man, it's like sin to you, and you're not supposed to be carrying that around, right? So give that up and go out there and execute with excellence today. And I promise you're going to go out there over a period of time. It'll compound. You'll see the fruits that you want to see. So I appreciate you guys having me on, man. Thank you for the invite, and it was a pleasure to talk with you guys, man.
Absolutely, dude. That was fire, man. I've got all kinds of notes sitting in front of me, man. And I think a lot of people on this call needed to hear exactly what you're talking about, especially from the aspects of, you're going to get out what you put in. If you go in with those negative connotations, that's what you're going to get. I mean, I know personally there's some producers on here that needed to hear exactly what you're saying, dude, today. And as always, you're always fire, dude. I appreciate everything you do. I mean, the Monday morning show, guys, the wake up show every Monday that Paul does, he doesn't have to get on there and do that. He doesn't, but you give back more than anybody in this company, dude. And I really do appreciate you. And I mean, like, it's been cool watching all of your success over the years, man. And there's nobody that is more deserving of it than you. I mean, you're just an all around good dude. I appreciate your friendship and dude, you've always set the like I said, whenever I got on here, man, you've always set that standard so high. You know what I mean? And you're always fun to chase. So I'm gonna continue to do that, man. So one day I'm gonna catch you, maybe. But you know what?
I'm rooting for you, bro.
And like you said, it don't matter if it takes me 10 years or 5, but we'll be up there, baby.
That's right, my man. Well, I'm rooting for you, brother. I appreciate you guys.
Hey, man, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Right. See you guys.
Right, so, guys, today starts with 0. Don't matter how good or how bad last week was. We all start at 0 today for a reason. Let's get on the phones. Let's set the tone for the week. For this weekend, let's go out and help as many families as we can. If y'all need us, please holler at us. You guys have a great day. Peace.